Se qui siete consorte mia giudizio consorte mia giudizio 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 consorte mio giudizio consorte mio giudizio consorte non disordine schiziamo.
Welcome to Coastal Carolina University. As we celebrate this occasion, we would like to ask that you silence all mobile phones and other electronic devices. For the safety of all, please do not block the aisles, and please remain in your seats until the conclusion of the ceremony so that the final graduate receives the same acknowledgement as the first. Thank you. Family members, friends, and esteemed guests, please stand if you are able for the processional and national anthem. Coastal Carolina University faculty are led by Haley Woodleaf. Coastal Carolina University department chairs and special programs advisors are led by Christina Genevivo. Today's platform party is led by Rob Young, faculty member and carrier of the University Mace. The platform party is comprised of members of the University Board of Trustees, university officials, and special guests. Coming to the lectern is Michael T. Benson, President of Coastal Carolina University.
Good evening, and welcome to Coastal Carolina University's 2022 Honors Convocation Ceremony. Please remain standing if you are able for the national anthem, led by Riley Hills, winner of the Margaret Millis Prize for Voice.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You may be seated. Today we recognize exceptional academic accomplishments and contributions to the Coastal Carolina University community. Presiding this evening is Dan Ennis, Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs. Dr. Ennis.
Thank you, President Benson. The students we recognize today have attained laudable records of academic achievement. At the same time, they have contributed to the quality of our academic community. They have involved themselves with their peers, with the faculty, with academic programs, and in the community in ways that move Coastal Carolina University toward increased excellence. As we recognized our honored students, please join me now in acknowledging all Coastal Carolina University students. The first students we recognize this evening are those who have demonstrated exemplary performance in their chosen majors. Annually, a single student is selected from each academic program at the university who represents outstanding academic accomplishments and who has contributed to the overall quality of the program. Printed in your programs, you will find a biography of each of these students which lists more of their achievements than we have time to share with you this evening. These students embody excellence in a variety of ways, from groundbreaking research to student organization leadership to professional internships in their fields. I encourage you to read the biographies of these truly outstanding Coastal Carolina University students. And at this time, I invite Dean Erica Small to join President Benson and myself to introduce the outstanding students selected by the faculty from the E. Craig Wall Senior College of Business Administration. Dean Small.
The first two students I'd like to award are being honored for their outstanding achievements in the Wall College of Business's graduate programs. It is a pleasure to award each of these hardworking students. I'd like to begin by offering congratulations to Christian Hanna, outstanding student in the Master of Accountancy program. Christian Hanna from Conway, South Carolina is earning a Master of Accountancy degree. She is a full-time staff accountant at Smith Sapp CPAs, a Myrtle Beach accounting firm. We'll now offer congratulations to Ekaterina Sotoyan, outstanding student in the Master of Business Administration program. Katerina Soltoyan was born and raised in the Republic of Moldova, and at the age of 14, she moved to Rome, Italy, with her family. After graduating high school, she pursued her education in the United States and is earning a Master of Business Administration degree. Upon graduation, Soltoyan is seeking employment in the U.S., preferably in the real estate industry. The following students are being honored for their outstanding achievements in the Wall College of Business's undergraduate degree programs. I'd now like to offer congratulations to Trenton Friedman, outstanding student in accounting. Trenton Friedman from Surfside Beach, South Carolina, is earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in accounting. Upon graduation, Friedman will continue his education at CCU and the Master of Accountancy program. Once he completes his programs, he will move to Salt Lake City, Utah, and begin a career in public accounting. Congratulations to Riley Harrell, outstanding student in economics. I'll continue on. I'll tell you, Riley Harrell is from Pasadena, Maryland, and is earning a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. After graduation, Harrell plans to continue her education in the field of environmental law and policy. Congratulations to Bailey Rue, outstanding student in economics. Bailey Rue from Little River, South Carolina, is earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in economics. Upon graduation, Rue plans to pursue graduate studies in economics and computer science. Congratulations to Paris Miller, outstanding student in finance. Paris Miller from Darlington, South Carolina, is a triple major, earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in Finance, Marketing, and Management. After graduation, Miller plans on staying at CCU to pursue an MBA with a concentration in commercial and investment real estate. Congratulations to Morgan Burdett, outstanding student in Hospitality, Resort, and Tourism Management. Morgan Burdett from Honeypath, South Carolina, is earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in Hospitality, Resort, and Tourism Management and a minor in Marketing. Burdett has completed 2 hospitality and guest services internships in Myrtle Beach and plans to pursue hotel administration after graduation. Congratulations to Christian Mitchell, outstanding student in management. Christian Mitchell from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, is earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in Management and a minor in Sports Studies. After graduation, Mitchell plans to pursue a career in athletic administration in a college athletics department. And finally, congratulations to Olivia Stringfield, outstanding student in marketing. Olivia Stringfield from Aiken, South Carolina, is earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in Marketing and a minor in French. Upon graduation, Stringfield plans to pursue opportunities in international real estate and international marketing in France. And now, Dean Michael Roberts joins President Benson and Provost Ennis to introduce the outstanding student recipients selected by the faculty from the Gupta College of Science.
These first 3 students are being honored for their outstanding achievements in the Gupta College of Science's graduate programs. It is with sincere pleasure and pride that I award the following students. Congratulations to Sarah Wessinger from the Masters of Science in Coastal Marine and Wetland Studies Department. Sarah Wessinger from Dunkirk, Maryland is earning her master's degree in coastal marine and wetland studies. Wessinger has been offered a job at the Naval Research Laboratory and has been heavily recruited by all Ph.D. programs for which she applied. She has ultimately decided to complete her Ph.D. in atmospheric science at Texas A&M starting in fall 2022. The following students are being honored for their outstanding achievements in the Gupta College of Sciences undergraduate majors. I'd now like to offer congratulations to Riley Martin, outstanding student in applied mathematics. Riley Martin from Edgewater, Maryland is graduating with a degree in applied mathematics, applied statistics, and a minor in business administration. After graduation, Martin plans to pursue a career in data analytics. Congratulations to Andrew Elgin, outstanding student in applied statistics. Andrew Elgin from Pennsylvania and now residing in Charleston, South Carolina, is earning a degree in applied statistics. Upon graduation, Elgin plans to pursue a career in sports data analytics. Congratulations to Clea Hosha, outstanding student in biochemistry. Clea Hosha from Albania is earning a degree in biochemistry and minors in physics and mathematics. Upon graduation, she plans to pursue a doctoral degree in medical physics. Congratulations to Madison Gentillo, outstanding student in biology. Madison Gentillo from Bethesda, Maryland is earning a degree in biology. Upon graduation, Gentillo plans to pursue graduate studies in microbiology or molecular biology. Congratulations to Dustin Lowe, outstanding student in chemistry. Dustin Lowe from Bealton, Virginia is earning a degree in chemistry. After graduation, Lowe plans to attend graduate school and study organic chemistry. Congratulations to Kyler Febroriello, outstanding student in computer science. Kyler Febroriello from Conway, South Carolina is earning a degree in computer science. After graduation, he plans to pursue a career in software engineering and hopes to attain a master's degree. Congratulations to Carissa Church, outstanding student in engineering science. Carissa Church from Hilton Head, South Carolina is earning a degree in engineering science. Carissa is taking a gap year after graduation to travel around the U.S. while searching for opportunities in the engineering field. Congratulations to James Brown, outstanding student in exercise and sports science. James Brown from Charleston, South Carolina is earning his degree in exercise and sports science. After graduation, Brown plans to pursue a Master of Science degree in sports medicine with a concentration on human movement science at Georgia Southern University in Savannah, Georgia. Congratulations to Hannah Deckert, outstanding student in health administration. Hannah Deckert from Fort Bragg, North Carolina is earning her degree in health administration. Deckert serves in the U.S. Army as a medic at the 82nd Airborne Division and is stationed with her family at Shaw Air Force Base. Congratulations to Michael Link, outstanding student in information systems. Michael Wink from Greensboro, North Carolina, is earning his Bachelor of Science in Information Systems. Upon graduation, Wink will be returning to LabCorp as an IT project specialist and plans on attending graduate school to further his education in information technology. Congratulations to Dawson Pickford, outstanding student in information technology. Dawson Pickford from Atlanta, Georgia, is earning a degree in information technology and a minor in communications. Upon graduation, Pickford plans to pursue a career in cybersecurity. Congratulations to Dean Roble, outstanding student in marine science. Dean Roble from Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, is earning a degree in marine science and a minor in coastal geology. After graduation, Roble plans to pursue a master's degree in coastal marine and wetland studies at CCU in the fall. Congratulations to Rita Tahan, outstanding student in nursing. Rita Tahan from Moncks Corner, South Carolina, will graduate with her Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree. She is employed at Lighthouse Behavioral Health Hospital. Congratulations to Devi Spletzer, outstanding student in psychology. Devi Spletzer from Royersford, Pennsylvania, is graduating with a degree in psychology and a double minor in women and gender studies and music. After graduation, Spletzer plans to work in human resources with Bank of America. Her longtime goal is to pursue a Ph.D. in clinical psychology, specializing in the research of human sexuality. Congratulations to Catherine McFadden, outstanding student in public health. Catherine McFadden is earning her degree in public health and a minor in sociology. After graduation, McFadden plans to start a position in human resources at Conway Medical Center, specifically recruiting nursing and medical staff. And finally, congratulations to Brian Port, outstanding student in recreation and sport management. Brian Port from Peachtree, Georgia, will earn his degree in recreation and sport management. Port was a member of the CCU baseball team for 3 years. He and 3 of his peers will compete this month against other universities from across the nation in a case study competition at the College Sport Research Institute in Columbia. Dean Sarah Hottinger will now join President Benson and Provost Ennis to introduce the outstanding student recipients selected by the faculty from the HTC Honors College.
The following student is being honored for her outstanding achievements in the HTC Honors College. It gives me great pleasure to congratulate Callie Rogers, outstanding student in Women's and Gender Studies. Woo-hoo. Callie Rogers from Kingstree, South Carolina, is a dual major in both Women's and Gender Studies and Sociology, while also receiving a minor in Psychology. Upon graduation, Rogers plans on pursuing a master's degree to work in counseling and advocacy. And now Dean Holly Tankersley will join President Benson and Provost Ennis to introduce the outstanding student recipients selected by the faculty from the Spadoni College of Education and Social Sciences.
The following students are being honored for their outstanding achievements in the Spadoni College of Education and Social Sciences graduate programs. I introduce them now with particular pride and pleasure. Representing our inaugural class of Ph.D. in Education graduates, congratulations to Amanda Darden, Dr. Amanda Darden, outstanding doctoral student in the Ph.D. in Education program. Amanda Darden from Coburn, Virginia will receive her Ph.D. in education, specializing in higher education administration. After graduation, Darden plans to pursue opportunities to expand her research agenda and has accepted a position as Vice President for Student Experience and Quality Assurance at Lander University. Congratulations to Joseph Lopes, outstanding graduate student in the Master of Arts in Teaching program. Joseph Lopes from Blythewood, South Carolina is earning his Master of Arts in Teaching degree. As an MAT student, Lopes was selected for a paid internship at Georgetown High School, and after graduation, he plans to continue to work in the Georgetown County School District, teaching social studies at Georgetown High. Congratulations to Billy Gaines, outstanding graduate student in the Master of Education in Educational Leadership program. Billy Gaines, an Horry County native, is earning his Master of Educational Leadership degree. Gaines has 15 years of service with Horry County Schools and will remain to serve in his current position of instructional coach at Ten Oaks Middle School. Congratulations to Caroline Nicole Rogers, outstanding graduate student in the Master of Education in Language, Literacy, and Culture program. Caroline Nicole Rogers will earn her Master of Education in Language, Literacy, and Culture. She hopes to move into a leadership role such as curriculum or literacy coach for elementary school teachers, and she would also love to write children's books one day. Our final graduate student for the Spadoni College is Kara Knabb, outstanding graduate student in the Master of Education in Special Education program. Kara Knabb is from Little River, South Carolina, and will earn a Master of Education in Special Education degree with a concentration in emotional disabilities. After graduation, Knabb plans to continue teaching 6th grade ELA. In a few years, she hopes to return to CCU and complete additional licensure in learning disabilities so that she can potentially switch to a special education position. The next students are being honored for their outstanding achievements in the Spadoni College of Education and Social Sciences undergraduate degree programs. Congratulations to Isabel Champ, outstanding student in anthropology and geography. Isabel Champ from Newcastle, Pennsylvania will earn a degree in anthropology and geography. Following graduation, Champ plans to pursue her graduate education in archaeology. Congratulations to Elizabeth Brown, outstanding student in early childhood education. Elizabeth Brown from Conway, South Carolina will earn a Bachelor of Arts in Early Childhood Education. After graduation, Brown will pursue her teaching career in Horry County Schools. She is looking forward to the opportunity to give back to the school district that she attended and that has provided the foundation for the educator she has become. Congratulations to Grace Weatherston, outstanding student in the elementary education program. Grace Weatherston from Charlotte, North Carolina is earning her degree in elementary education and has also completed the required coursework for an add-on certification in early childhood education. She plans to teach in the Myrtle Beach area after graduation and pursue a graduate degree in language, literacy, and culture. Congratulations to Amanda Grace Wilmoth, outstanding student in middle level education. Amanda Grace Wilmoth from Harlem, Georgia, is earning her degree in middle-level education. In fall 2022, Wilmoth will start her first year as a social studies teacher in Horry County schools. She also plans to continue her professional development through graduate education courses at CCU. Congratulations to Miles Kowalski, outstanding student in physical education. Miles Kowalski from New Jersey will earn his degree in physical education. He plans to teach health and physical education in the Northeast following graduation, hoping to creatively spread awareness of the mental and physical benefits of an active lifestyle. Congratulations to Colin Keegan, outstanding student in political science. Colin is from Blairstown, New Jersey, earning his degree in political science. After he graduates, he plans to go to law school with the hopes of one day becoming a judge. Congratulations to Brianna Martin, outstanding student in sociology. Brianna Martin from Hainesport, New Jersey, is earning her degree in sociology with a concentration in social justice and a minor in pre-law. After graduation, Martin plans to take the year to study for the LSAT and apply to her dream school, Harvard Law. In fall 2023, Martin will be on her path to becoming a lawyer and then a federal judge. And finally, congratulations to Patricia Lindley Still, outstanding student in special education, multi-categorical. Patricia Lindley Still from Barnwell, South Carolina, is earning a Bachelor of Arts in Special Education, multi-categorical, and a certificate in instructional technology. After graduation, Still will be teaching at Ainer High School and pursuing her Master of Science in Speech-Language Pathology at the University of South Carolina. Dean Claudia Bornholt will now join President Benson and Provost Ennis to introduce the outstanding student recipients selected by the faculty from the Thomas W. and Robin W. Edwards College of Humanities and Fine Arts.
The following students are being honored for their outstanding achievements in the Edwards College of Humanities and Fine Arts graduate programs. It gives me great pleasure to award these students for their achievement. Congratulations to Dalia Dehan, outstanding graduate student in the Master of Arts in Communication program. Dalia Dehan from Middleton, Connecticut is earning her master's degree in communication with a concentration in leadership. Dehan will begin the Communication Ph.D. program this fall at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with a teaching assistantship at the Weiss Urban Livability Fellowship. Congratulations to Gina Ford, outstanding graduate student in the Master of Arts in Liberal Studies program. Gina Ford will earn a Master of Arts in Liberal Studies degree. Her capstone focuses on the importance of LGBTQIA+ inclusion in public education infrastructures. Ford hopes to use her skills to further her career in business with diversity and inclusion awareness in mind. Congratulations to Melissa Martinez, outstanding graduate student in the Master of Arts in Music Technology program. Melissa Martinez from Beaufort, Georgia, developed her passion for music technology while completing her undergraduate degree in percussion performance at CCU. Martinez will be a music editor for film and television after graduation. Congratulations to Selena Mendoza, outstanding student in the Master of Arts in Writing program. Selena Mendoza from Loris, South Carolina, is graduating with a Master of Arts in Writing. Mendoza's interests in creative writing extend in her editorial positions with Waccamaw Journal, where she has served as assistant poetry editor and poetry co-editor for the past 2 years. The following students are being honored for their outstanding achievements in the Edwards College of Humanities and Fine Arts undergraduate programs. It's my pleasure to first congratulate Allison Cahill, outstanding student in art history. Allison Cahill is a double major in art history and marine science. After graduation, Cahill is moving to Columbia, South Carolina to work at an art conservation and restoration firm. She plans on pursuing a graduate degree. Congratulations to Samantha Senek, outstanding student in art studio. Samantha Senek is pursuing a double major in both art studio and graphic design. After graduation, Senek plans to work for a design firm and continue her studio practice to exhibit in museums, galleries, and juried exhibitions. Although she is unable to join us today, we'd like to offer congratulations to Shelby Ankiewicz, outstanding student in communication, media, and culture. Shelby Ankiewicz from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, is pursuing a bachelor's degree in communication with a concentration in interactive journalism and a minor in languages and intercultural studies. Ankiewicz is currently studying abroad on scholarship in my home country, Germany, and is using this experience as a step toward her future goal of becoming a travel writer. Congratulations to Matthew Buck, outstanding student in digital culture and design. Matthew Buck from Little River, South Carolina will earn a Bachelor of Arts in Digital Culture and Design. On campus, you can find Buck working in the new makerspace in Kimball Library, where he uses his expertise in digital making and design to help other students and faculty with their projects. Congratulations to Sage Short, outstanding student in English. Sage Short, born in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, but raised in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, is graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in English and minors in creative writing and women's and gender studies. Short will be attending the English graduate program at Clemson in the fall. Congratulations to Desiree Jones, outstanding student in graphic design. Desiree Jones is graduating with a bachelor's degree in graphic design with a minor in marketing. After graduation, Jones plans to intern as a step toward her desired job as a professional graphic designer or illustrator. Congratulations to Michaela Madalena, outstanding student in history. Michaela Madalena from South Setauket, New York, is a double major in history and English and is a peace and conflict studies minor. After graduation, Madalena plans to pursue graduate school for business and continue in the research she developed in history during her time at Coastal. Congratulations to Hannah Clegg, outstanding student in intelligence and national security studies. Hannah Clegg from Los Alamos, New Mexico, is an intelligence and national security studies major who is minoring in Russian and Eurasian studies and Middle Eastern studies. After graduation, Clegg plans to work in the intelligence community. Congratulations to Ola Louisa Watson, outstanding student in interdisciplinary studies. Ola Watson from Pawleys Island, South Carolina, is majoring in interdisciplinary studies with concentrations in political science and history, focusing on South Carolina history. After graduation, Watson would like to work with nonprofits in developing community relationships and fundraising. Congratulations to Madison Ketchak, outstanding student in languages and intercultural studies. Madison Ketchak is a double major in languages and intercultural studies and history. Ketchak will continue her studies in CCU's Master of Education program next year. Congratulations to Luciano Castro, outstanding student in philosophy. Luciano Castro from Bahia, Brazil, will graduate with a Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy and a minor in Women's and Gender Studies. Castro plans to pursue graduate work on a joint J.D. and Ph.D. with a focus on civil rights law. Congratulations, Cameron Robinson, outstanding student in religious studies. Cameron Robinson from Carlsbad, New Mexico, will graduate with a Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies with a concentration in religion and public life, and minors in Asian Studies and Philosophy. After graduation, Robinson plans to pursue graduate studies in Asian religions. Congratulations to Eddie Sachs, outstanding student in Theater Arts, BFA. Eddie Sachs from Milltown, New Jersey, is pursuing a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in Theater Arts with a concentration in acting. Sachs plans to move to New York City after graduation to pursue a career in acting and teach mind, body, and meditation practices. Congratulations to Christopher Austin Hufnagel. I'm sorry. Outstanding student in Theater, BA. Austin Hufnagel from Rock Hill, South Carolina, majors in theater with a minor in film and production studies. Hufnagel plans to pursue a career as an actor and screenwriter after graduation. And finally, congratulations to Jennifer Bien, outstanding student in visual communication design. Jennifer Bien from Lynbrook, New York, is a BFA Visual Communication Design major and marketing minor. After graduation, Bien plans to move back to New York and start a career in the graphic design field.
Coming to the lectern is Louis Kiner, Director of Honors, to recognize students graduating from the HTC Honors College.
The HTC Honors College congratulates its students graduating with university honors. Each student has completed a rigorous curriculum consisting of at least 24 credit hours of honors courses while maintaining at least a 3.5 GPA and completing a final honors thesis or project. In this academic year, 98 students have graduated from the Honors College, earning an average GPA of 3.8. Tonight, we recognize students graduating in spring and summer of 2022, with an honors college certificate and medallion. Joshua Altman. Sandra Atala. Justin Barbato. Jacob Barnt. Seth Bauer. Aaron Berzonsky. Jennifer Bean. Tyquatius Bridges. Morgan Burdett. Savannah Burdett. Laura Busby. Jamie Carlson. Joy Carlson. Savannah Cody. Kylie Cuba. Brandon Davis. Ian DiLorenzo. Madison Earl. Mackenzie Aramo. Haley Frick. Colin Gallagher. Clea Hoja. Aaron Kanagi. Zachary Green. Caitlin Hallam. Courtney Hallam. Cole Hancock. Carson Hebblethwaite. John Hobbs. Lindsay Hoffpair. McKenna Hughes. Selena Hughes. Brooklyn Johnson. Madison Jones. Benjamin Lieb. Sydney Madden. Holly McGrath. Nicole McHugh. Julia Messenger. Timothy Mitten. Natalie Morris. Caitlin Mullenkamp. Lindsay Newton. Sarah Nemo. Emma Oswald. Briar Ownby Connolly. Lena Perugini. Chesney Price. Haley Restucchia. Darius Robinson. Maya Robley. Bailey Rue. Haley Salisbury. Lily Schaefer. Olivia Shirley. Alyssa Simpson. Debbie Spletzer. Patricia Still. Christina Strauss. Olivia Stringfield. Natasha Terry. Derek Tompkins. Joshua Vincent. Tamare White. Emily Wilt. Dean Roble. Adi Zaks.
Let us once again congratulate all our students graduating with honors. Now, we will celebrate the exceptional work of our students in fellow and scholar programs. In doing so, we also recognize all the work that goes into mentoring and advising these students. First program. The Dyer Fellowship engages students in research to solve public policy problems in their fields of study and to prepare them for careers in public service and academia. The Fellows are a multidisciplinary cohort chosen from across all of the colleges on campus and represent some of our brightest and most talented students. Dyer Fellows work with faculty mentors and Washington-based practitioners to develop solutions to the problems that face our country, our state, our county, our state, and our nation. On behalf of Jacqueline Kolowski, Director of the Dyer Institute, I will now introduce the Dyer Institute graduates and invite them to the stage to be recognized. I invite Shelley Sasser, Madison Earl, Alexandra Sandy Matu, Holly McGrath, and Jana Whitmire. Congratulations, Dyer Fellows. The Swain Scholars have been established through the generous donation of the late Mr. Kenneth Swain. Students are selected to be Swain Scholars through a very competitive process. These students have worked with Coastal Carolina University faculty and community agencies to research health-related issues and implement community health programs. The Swain Scholar Program is both a scholarship and a credit-bearing program. On behalf of Sharon Thompson, coordinator of the Swain Scholars Program, I will now introduce the 2022 Swain Scholar graduates, and I invite them to the stage to be recognized. I invite Alyssa Simpson, and I invite Casey Sullivan. Congratulations to the Swain Scholars. The Teaching Fellows Program is a scholarship program funded by the Center for Educator Recruitment, Retention, and Advancement. The program supports high-achieving South Carolina high school students who wish to pursue a degree in education. Following graduation, scholarship recipients must teach in a South Carolina public school for a minimum of 3 years. Coastal Carolina University Teaching Fellows Program welcomed its first cohort in fall 2015. The program provides opportunities for teaching fellows to receive professional development as well as serve in leadership roles. Coastal Carolina University is one of only 11 institutions in the state identified as a Teaching Fellows institution and is highly competitive in receiving 20 to 25 students each year. On behalf of Amanda Darden, Director of the Teaching Fellows Program, I will now introduce the Teaching Fellows graduates, and I invite them to the stage to be recognized. I invite Mason Bell, Brianna Bowen, Elizabeth Brown, Cladacia Flowers, Kendall Hodge. Presley Hoolan. Tess Humowitz. Madison Ketchek. Deasia Lennon. Haley Poston. Patricia Still. Charlie Watts. Savannah Funderburk. Sydney Daniel. Diamond Goodman. Brennan Porter. Congratulations to all the teaching fellows. The Wall Fellows Program is uniquely designed to prepare top students around all colleges of Coastal Carolina University for high-level careers in major U.S. and international organizations. These students are chosen from a rigorous application process in the second semester of their sophomore year. Wall Fellows have developed a laudable tradition and commitment to developing leadership skills and providing service to the community. On behalf of Jay Page, Director of the Wall Fellows Program, I now invite the graduates of the Wall Fellows to the stage to be recognized. I invite Haley Salisbury, Lily Schaefer, Olivia Stringfield, Elizabeth Turner, Madison Vanderlip, and Tamaray White. The reputation of Coastal Carolina is advanced by the presence of national honor societies on campus. Students admitted to these societies have excelled in the classroom and displayed campus leadership. Your program lists all of the honor societies and the members that will be graduating this year, as well as their advisors. Please take time to look over the names listed in your program. These students certainly deserve recognitions. Congratulations, Honor Society members. The single Distinguished Student Award is the premier recognition of Coastal Carolina University, and it's the highest recognition faculty can bestow upon a student. Each college has selected one outstanding student from the major awards that we've recognized this evening. Each distinguished student from their respective college will receive a plaque and a gift of $100. As I call your name, please come on stage to accept your award. From the Wall College of Business, Olivia Stringfield. Olivia has been on the stage so many times, she's tired. From the Gupta College of Science, Madison Gentilo. From the HTC Honors College, Callie Rogers. From the Spadoni College of Education and Social Sciences, Patricia Still. The outstanding student for the Edwards College of Humanities and Fine Arts is also this year's winner of the University Distinguished Undergraduate Student Award. The student will receive a plaque and a gift of $500. I invite Sage Short, winner of the 2020... Sage Short is the winner of the 2022 University Distinguished Undergraduate Student Award. Congratulations, Sage. You can read about the many accomplishments Sage has achieved by reading her bio in the program. Faculty describe her as being a superstar. As an English major, she has proven herself to be a well-rounded poet, researcher, and leader. She is president of the Sigma Tau Delta Honor Society, the editor of Her Campus, and the assistant editor of Tempo magazine. She's also co-president of Students Advocating Gender Equality, and this advocacy speaks through her work both on and off campus. Sage brings her talent as a writer and editor to her passion for community engagement. As one faculty member wrote of Sage, threaded throughout her work and contributions in and beyond the classes, including her activism on campus, is her overarching commitment to contributing positively to socially and intellectually transformative moments and movements. Her academic and activist work are testaments to her dedication to engaging with rigorous and complex texts that have transdisciplinary relevance in diverse social and cultural environs. I will translate that out of English professor. She's terrific, and we're proud of her. Congratulations, Sage. Each of the Distinguished Student Award winners from the colleges should be applauded for rising to the top of their respective areas. We wish each of you the best in the future. Please stand for one more recognition, college winners. It is my honor, and we say that a lot in these ceremonies, it is truly my honor to introduce the Student Government Association President, Brianna Martin. Where is she? Come on. We gotta say nice things about you too. Come on. Martin is an outstanding student leader who has been president and active in enhancing the campus community through her service, her dedication, and her talent. Martin is not only widely active in on-campus organizations, but is also a board member of the nonprofit Grand Strand Action Together. Her devotion to her community extends beyond campus and even local movements. She's on a path to become a federal judge, and we look forward to watching her change the world. Students like Brianna Martin help their fellow students feel empowered and inspired to create change in their communities and in the world. Please welcome Brianna Martin.
The Distinguished Professor of the Year Award recognizes excellence in teaching chosen by students. This honor is awarded to the faculty who treat students fairly, is dynamic in the classroom, helps students after class, and is willing to help students learn. At this time, I would like to invite the 2021-2022 Distinguished Professor of the Year Award winner, Dr. Michael Dowd, to join President Benson and Provost Ennis on stage. Please give him a hand. Dr. Dowd is the best professor within the Wall College of Business. He understands the students, recognizes their needs, and works with them every day to make sure that they understand business structure and strategies. On top of that, he makes sure the students understand the importance of why ethical practices need to take place. His teachings have depth, and he is one of the only professors who incorporates DEI subtly into his teachings, even though it isn't in the course description. He is smart and witty, and he deserves this award by a million. He cares about his students and loves to teach. He wants his students to learn and gain things from his classes, and as a student, that means the most. He also does all he can to try to get students to experience for what it will be like in the real world. He cares about everyone and will do what he can to help people learn things both in the classroom and out. He truly loves what he teaches and values quality over quality. I think they meant to say quality over quantity. He never fails to make sure students learn the material through extra reinforcement and is very responsive to students. He is also understanding of students and their titles, which is seldom in most CCU faculty members. And these were all quotes from students who submitted things about you, Dr. Dowd. And I want to say congratulations to you, Dr. Dowd. If you can give him a round of applause.
Coming to the lectern is Anelia Barnes, Director of Undergraduate Research.
It is my honor to announce the winners of the 2022 Undergraduate Research Competition. With almost 100 research presentations this year, the competition was impressive. First place prizes were awarded in 3 categories. The first category was for the best poster presentation, which is awarded to Caroline Connor. Caroline is from Abu Dhabi, UAE, and she's a marine science major. Since her arrival at Coastal Carolina in fall of 2020, she has been named to the President's List, and she has served as a senator for the Student Government Association, as the National Communications Coordinator of Residential Housing, and as a member of the Executive Board for the Tri Beta National Honor Society. Upon graduation, Caroline hopes to attend the University of Amsterdam to earn a master's degree in freshwater and marine biology. The second category was for the best oral presentation given by a student in the Edwards College, Spadoni College, and the Wall College, which was awarded to Bailey Willis. Willis is from Johnston, South Carolina. She is a sustainability major and a graphic information systems minor. Since her arrival at Coastal Carolina in fall of 2020, she's been named to the President's List and the Dean's List and has earned the Coastal Carolina Presidential Merit Scholarship, the CCU Palmetto Scholarship, the Palmetto Fellow Scholarship, and the Watson Brown Foundation Scholarship. Upon graduation, Bailey hopes to enter the sustainability field, working with businesses or local governments to reduce their environmental impact. The third category was for the best oral presentation given by a student in the Gupta College, which was awarded to Dean Robel. Robel is from Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. He is a marine science major and a coastal geology minor. Since his arrival at Coastal Carolina in the fall of 2018, he has been named to the Dean's List and has earned the President's Scholar Award, the South Carolina Life Scholarship, and the Student of the Year Award in Marine Science. Upon graduation, Dean plans to return to CCU in the fall to pursue a master's degree in coastal marine and wetland studies. Please join me in congratulating Caroline, Dean, and Bailey on their outstanding achievements.
I now invite President Michael P. Benson to the podium for our closing.
Thank you very much, Don Ennis.
You barely know.
I know, that's right. Honored students and faculty, I offer congratulations to you and your families on behalf of the entire campus community. As we recognize your honors and celebrate your accomplishments, we too share your pride in these achievements. Many of you will be recognized this weekend as Coastal Carolina University graduates. I encourage you to wear the medallion you have been given today as evidence of your successes. Now, I ask everyone to join me as we applaud all the students recognized here this evening. Now, if you would please, stand if you're able, and join in singing our alma mater and remain standing for the recessional. The words are printed on the back of your programs. Thank you.
Search and learn to reach beyond ourselves, below the earth, beyond the stars, to form our dreams. us that surround us, ocean waters that sustain us, reflect your standards that prepare us. May we return in thought and care to share your promise of enrichment.